See, when you realize that your greatest need is Him, you don't focus so much on these other things. Have you ever had a bunch of things going on at one time and you go tackle the thing that's the most important? You got several things that you need to get done, so you go after the thing that's the most important because that's the biggest thing that needs to be done. That's the immediate need that needs to be handled. So you go after that first. Because when you start comparing all the things that need to be done and you look at them, you immediately start prioritizing them and you think, well, this is more important than I can handle this stuff later. See, that's what happens when you really, when His presence, seeking Him, becomes the greatest need of your life. All the stuff that we worry about doesn't seem as big. And when we shift to that type of mentality, His Word is activated to become true. You know, there's so many things that I can go back and think over my life that God answered that I wasn't even thinking about. Needs that God met that I wasn't even worrying about. Literally stuff I'm like, God, that's awesome. I mean, I wasn't praying about that. I mean, that needed to be done, but like that just didn't matter to me because that wasn't what my focus was. And over these last few weeks and this last month, and I don't know if you've got the privilege to do this or not, but I've had the privilege of being able to shorten my prayer list because there's prayers that God's answering. And I'm able to start deleting some of the stuff out of my prayer list. And I believe the reason why is because of focus. Because His Word is true. If we'll seek Him first, if Jesus will become our greatest need, that will be the thing we'll go after with all our hearts. And the things that we need will be added. God said, I'll take care of that. Here's the thing, man. God can bless you in every way, but He can't make you love Him. God can bless you beyond measure. God can give you everything you think you need or want. God can do any of that. God can provide in every way possible, but God cannot make us love Him. God cannot make us follow Him. He cannot make us serve Him. He can't make you seek Him. And so if we'll do the things that only we can do, then God will do the things that only He can do. You and I have one mission today. Seek Him. That's it. That's right. Just seek Him. Yeah. Seek His face. Seek His presence. Every morning you wake up, get in His presence. Don't push Him off till the last thing you do in the day. Don't push Him off until you get time. I love what Sister Bailey said at our small group, and the wording just clicked. She said, you don't find time to pray, you make time to pray. And that's a whole sermon in itself, and we can just open the altars. You ain't ever going to pray if you're trying to find time to pray. You'll never follow Him if you're trying to find time. You have to make time. It has to become a priority in your life. His presence, following Him, serving Him. And I pray that as we've been talking about the presence of the Lord and the difference of being in His presence and being of His presence, I pray that this has opened your understanding. And I believe it has because of just the way people are talking and the way we're worshiping and functioning. It shows me that we are getting this. And so I want to take the next couple of weeks and we're going to dive into talking about specific people in the Bible that were people of the presence. And we're going to talk about these people's lives and what made them the people of the presence. And so one of the people we're going to talk about today is a woman that you will find in the New Testament named Mary. There's a woman in the New Testament named Mary that you'll find 3 major mentions of her in the Bible, in the New Testament. You'll find 3 places where Jesus mentioned her and that were very profound. And you'll find these in John 11 and 32, John 12, 1 and 8. And the passage we're going to read here shortly is Luke 10 and 38. These are 3 major mentions that you'll find this person named Mary, this female named Mary. This is 3 places you find her in the New Testament. And a lot of people who study in depth the Word of God have come to the conclusion that this is all the same person, because there are some that believe that these are 2 different Marys that Jesus is talking about. But the reason why I tend to lean towards the fact that these are all 3 instances of the same Mary, because in every single passage that you read of her, she's all found the same way. Every time that you read in these passages, in John 11, John 12, and Luke 10, you find Mary the same way that you did in the last 2 chapters, and that is at the feet of Jesus. Everywhere that you read of Mary in these passages, you will find Mary at the feet of Jesus. You'll find a woman who was so captivated by the Lord, so mesmerized by the Lord Jesus, that every time she got in his presence, she wound up by his feet. Now, this made her stand out like a sore thumb because of Jesus' ministry. Jesus' ministry was, or every mention of Jesus' ministry in the New Testament was of him healing everybody else. Of Jesus feeding the poor, of Jesus loving the lost, of him helping the broken and ministering to the downhearted. That's what Jesus' whole ministry was all about, was to serve. And Jesus said of himself, I didn't come to be served, I've come to serve. That was Jesus' whole mission, was to come to this earth and to serve, to be a servant. Even though he was God in the flesh, even though that was God Almighty who created the heavens and the earth, he robed himself in flesh. He came down to this earth as a man. He subjected himself even unto death, and he became a servant to all. But in all three mentions, you find Mary at his feet, because Mary refused. She refused to just come and be in his presence. She refused to just be around Jesus. She refused to just be in the same room as Jesus. But Mary had recklessly abandoned everything to be in the very presence of God. Even though she was criticized by the religious leaders, and even though she was criticized by her own family, and she was attacked by the very disciples that were standing around Jesus, this woman did not pay attention to any of that. She found herself at the feet of Jesus because she did not get into the presence of God to see what she could get. She came into the presence of God to see what she could give. You see, all that you see of Mary was displayed was a response to the love that Jesus poured out in her life. The reason why Mary was so captivated by Jesus, the reason why she was so enamored by him, and she was so mesmerized by him, and the reason why she could not do nothing but be at the feet of Jesus is because of the love that Jesus poured out on her when she was lost and when she was broken and when nobody trusted her and when she was living in sin and she was full of devils and she was living a broken, messed up life, that Jesus loved her anyhow. That when she came to the feet of Jesus, that Jesus did not shoo her off and look disgusted at her, but he embraced her love and he embraced her worship because it was from her heart. She spent the rest of her life in the presence of the Lord at his feet. It didn't matter what anybody else in her life thought. It didn't matter what the religious leaders thought. It didn't matter what her family had to say about it. It didn't matter if nobody else wanted to worship. It didn't matter if nobody else was passionate about it. See, you didn't know where she was when Jesus found her. You don't know the mess that she was, how broken that she was. She didn't let nobody in the room mess up her worship or interrupt her worship. Everybody else could have sat there like a bump on a log, but Mary was in the presence of God because she was thankful about where he brought. Is there anybody that just gets in his presence and thinks, man, God, you're so good? You just think about where he's brought you from. You think about what he's brought you through. You think about all the ways that he's made and all the doors that he's opened and all the enemies that he's taken care of for you and all the situations that should have turned out bad, but his mercy and grace kept. Come on, man, that's enough that we ought to be able to praise God no matter if it's the right song or the right sermon. Man, we ought to have enough in our tank today to give God praise the rest of this afternoon. See, I think people today, they suffer from amnesia because they come to church and they just sit there like God hadn't done anything for them. Amen. Many people, you think about everything that God has done for you, and I don't know if it's a shift or a disconnect in the mind that they don't realize whose presence they're in. But man, if you really understand whose presence that you're in today, man, there ought not be anything that ought to stop you from worshiping in this house today. There shouldn't be anybody that ought to stop you from worship. If you really think of his goodness and all that he's done for you, man, nobody ought to be able to put your hands down. You ought to have your hands lifted, worshiping your great God. You ought to be filling this place with worship because of where he's brought you from, because of what he's brought you through, because of the doors that he's opened, because of the ways that he's made. And Mary, every time you see this girl, man, she's just at the feet of Jesus. And she's just lost in it, man. And it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. She didn't care what everybody else thought about it. She was so locked into Jesus, and she was so just captured by his presence that every word she just treasured, every word that came out of his mouth. You're talking about a woman of the presence. Talking about a woman that didn't let anything around her. She didn't let her circumstances around her determine how she was going to praise and how she was going to worship God. That sometimes it may have been the worst of situations that fueled her praise the most. When you know, Jesus said those who are forgiven much will be more thankful. And because of where Jesus brought her from, she was the most passionate worshiper in the room. Because of where Jesus brought her from, she would walk past a whole table full of ministers and drop down at the feet of Jesus and just begin to wash his feet with her very tears and dry them with her hair, the Bible says, and would take very expensive oil and perfumes and ointments, and she would pour it over the head of Jesus. This is a woman that when she came to church, she came and went and got all out. I mean, I wonder what would happen if we would ever come to church with that kind of just throwing all restraint and reserve away. It's like, man, if I'm going to get up this morning and I'm going to get dressed and I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to come to church, I'm not coming here just to sit and look pretty. I'm not coming here just to sing a few songs and go home. But if I'm going to be in the presence of the one that loved me, the one that died for me, the one that shed blood for me, I'm going to give him all the praise that I can give him. And so Mary, in all the accounts that you see her, she is mentioned being at his feet. See, those around Jesus were always around his hands, but she was at his feet. See, because the hands were what was used to serve, but the feet were where the hands served at. Man, let that sink in. The hands are what produced, but the feet is where the servant stays. The servant's at the feet serving. See, everybody was worried about Jesus' hands because that's where we get the term they wanted a handout. Because some people, that's all they're looking for is a handout. They ain't interested in serving God, they just want you to give them something. And the minute you stop giving them something, they quit coming to church. Oh, glory, I said it. As long as you're putting food in my house and gas in my car, making sure I got everything I need, Pastor, I'll be at church. But the minute you tell me no, I'll quit coming to church and I'll go find me another church to sponge off of and leech off of. And you know what? You're going to spend the rest of their life just hopping from church to church because we ain't banks. I'm not your God. I'm going to take you to the one who can take care of you. I'll take you to the one who can provide. But I can't be your personal ATM. But I'll lead you to the one that can. I'll lead you to the one that can. Come on, somebody. This thing's got to be more than about that. This thing's got to be about the one who died for you. Man, you ought to be in here worshiping God. It shouldn't matter if you got any money or not, what you're going through, what you're not going through. This place ought to be a place filled with worship. See, the hands are, that's where the provision's handed out. And so everywhere you see Jesus, you see a lot of people around the hands. See a lot of people getting the free food. See a lot of people getting healed. See a lot of people getting delivered. She didn't see a lot of people at his feet. You didn't see a lot of people who said, Jesus, I didn't come for the stuff, I came for you. I didn't come for the provision. I thank you for it. I thank you for the fish. I thank you for the loaves. But Jesus, I wasn't here for that. I was here for you. And that was just a bonus because all I really wanted was just you. See, Jesus rebuked a bunch of disciples who rebuked her for being in the room. They rebuked her for doing what she was doing. And Jesus said, you guys are crazy. You guys have sat at this table with me trying to see what you can get out of me. And he said, this girl, since she's been here, has not stopped kissing my feet. Not one time have you offered me something to drink. Not one time have you offered me something to eat. Not one time have you came to me to give me or bless me or encourage me. You just come here to see everything you can give her. See, that wasn't Mary. Mary didn't function that way. Mary had needs just like everybody else. But Mary knew what her main need was. She knew what her greatest need was. And it was the presence of God. See, that's what I'm trying to tell you. If you and I will ever let go of what we think is needs in this life and realize that your greatest need is Him. Your greatest need in your life is His presence. That God can supply all your needs if He'll become your greatest need. So Mary, every time you see her, she's at Jesus' feet. She's trying there to serve Jesus. And that is the picture that everywhere that you read of Mary, you find her at Jesus' feet. As you try to paint the portrait of Mary's life, there's really not a whole lot of creativity there, because everywhere you find her, she's at Jesus' feet. Every passage you read of her, she's at the feet of Jesus. She's been found no other way. And so I want to ask you, Life Sources, where would you be found? If we were to tell the story of your life, if we were to paint the story of your life, where would you be found? Would your life be filled with you pursuing selfish gain? Would your life be fulfilled and would your life be filled with you pleasing you and getting you ahead and the things that you need and what you want? Your days are filled serving yourself. Your days are filled getting you ahead, filled with pleasure. Or would you be like this very portrait of Mary that is at the feet of Jesus, realizing that He is your greatest need in your life? In the book of Luke chapter 10, if you'll put this up on the board for me, Luke 10 verse 38 through 42. This is a very powerful instance that you'll read of Mary, that I want to draw something from this so we can be encouraged, but also to be challenged today. This is Luke chapter 10 verse 38. It says, now it happened as, this is speaking of Jesus, when they had entered a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was distracted. Everybody say distracted. With much serving. And she approached Jesus. She didn't go to Mary. She went to Jesus. And she got on to Jesus. It's pretty gutsy. She didn't go to Mary, man. She went straight to the top. And she said to Jesus, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? And then she really stepped it up and told Jesus, tell her to help me. Now she's telling Jesus what to do. Let's see how that worked out for her. And Jesus said to her, Martha, and this is how I picture it. Martha, Martha, chill. He said, you are worried and troubled about many things, but the one thing is needed. And Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken away from her. Jesus told Martha, look, dude, the only thing that matters, she's focused on it. You're the one that's distracted. She's not, in Martha's world, Mary's distracted from her work. Mary's distracted from her duties. Mary's distracted from what's important, because we got to serve. We've got to do, we've got to prepare. We've got to make this meal. We've got to have the perfect feast. And in Martha's world, Mary's so distracted with Jesus that she ain't got time to work, and she's trying to rebuke her. And Jesus saying, Martha, you've got it twisted. You're the one that's distracted. See, that's the problem, Mary and Martha, is because you're so distracted by life, you haven't even noticed me being in the room until you wanted something. See, this is the picture of people that only pray when they need something. This is the picture of people, the only time they get into prayer is when they want something. The only time they ever mention His name is when they need something. The only time they ever come and worship is when something's going wrong with their life and they need God to bail them out. That you don't see them at church for 3 or 4 weeks, but let something come down, let something not work out, and all of a sudden they're at the church saying, we need prayer. See, that's what Jesus was saying, man, you got this thing twisted. I'm not just your personal little bank. I'm not just your personal fix-all. I want you to come and just enjoy my presence. And so Jesus, he's traveling, and he goes to Martha's house, and Martha, she's here to serve Jesus, and we that's respectable, because it's like that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be serving God, right? We're supposed to be involved in ministry, and that's what Martha was doing. Martha was serving Jesus. She was preparing a meal for the disciples. But let me tell you this, your ministry will never supersede your prayer life. You never get so busy in ministry that you don't have time to pray. And Martha is now trying to exalt her ministry over her time with the Lord. But never do you read in Scripture where Jesus backed that up. Because you read in other times where Mary broke open the box of perfume. And Judas was like, "You're crazy. You wasted all this perfume on the feet of Jesus." He said, "You could have sold that and given it to the poor." And you think, man, that sounds pretty noble of him that he would want to sell that and give it to the poor. I mean, that's what outreach is, right? We're supposed to give to the poor. But yet Jesus said, the poor will always be with you, but I won't. Because what Jesus was telling you is he exalts intimacy over ministry. That I don't care how much of a minister you are. It doesn't matter how involved you are in serving. If you don't got a prayer life, if you don't get along with God, nothing you do on a public stage will ever outdo the things you do in your private prayer time. Nothing that you do in public will ever outshine what you do in private. Because it's the things that Jesus said that you do in the secret place that God will reward you openly. There's a lot of people that have ministries. There's a lot of people who are busy at church. There's a lot of people who are busy doing things, but there's no power. There's no alone time with God. There's no intimacy with God. Jesus always exalted your time with Him above anything you do in this life. And here we find Mary, who is in that very place. Mary was so lost in Jesus. She was so distracted by Jesus that she didn't even notice that the things in the kitchen weren't getting done. What a place that would be to get to be so lost in God that you get so distracted by life that you ain't caught up with everything that's going on in this world. You're not caught up with all the junk and the drama and the issues and the mess and the dysfunction and the chaos because you are so lost in Jesus. You understand that Mary was so distracted by every word, every morsel of word that came out of Jesus' mouth. She just gulped them up. She could not care less about what was going on in that kitchen. She didn't care less about what Martha was doing and what she needed to be doing, that if the rolls were being burned or not, or if the corn was being cooked. She could care less about what was happening in that kitchen because she was captivated by the very presence of Jesus. Martha was so distracted by what was going on in the kitchen that she didn't have time to notice Jesus. Mary was so lost in Jesus, and Martha was lost in the kitchen. And so I want to ask you, if you really would be honest with yourself, are you Martha lost in the kitchen of life? Or are you Mary that's lost in the presence of Jesus? I didn't ask if you come to church. I didn't ask how much you gave in the offering today. I'm asking you, are you so busy with your life that you don't even have time to notice Him? Are you so busy fulfilling your schedule, so busy fulfilling your wants, your needs, serving yourself, that you don't have time to know? See, I just, that breaks my heart when I think about Martha. Martha, who cares about those rolls? Who cares about that meal? You have the way, the truth, and the life sitting in your living room right now. You have Jesus Christ sitting in your living room. Why are you so concerned about that kitchen? Why are you so concerned about that meal? You should be at His feet. You should be lost in Him right now. Why do you care about all that other stuff? But do you understand, LiFeSource? But that's the picture of people's lives. They're so consumed with their jobs. They're so consumed with making money. They're so consumed with their schedule. They're so consumed with their wants and their needs that they have no time to fit Jesus into the picture. To so many people, life has just become one big selfie. And Jesus has no room in the picture. So busy taking care of me. So busy, satisfying me. So busy pleasing me that I have no time to focus on Him. And what's discouraging and what's The battle that we fight is in our world today, that as we're so busy filling our picture up with us, that we try to squeeze Jesus into a little corner somewhere and act like he's in our lives. I'm going to be honest with you. Your picture has no room for you. You should have. Jesus said that if we're going to follow him, we have to deny ourselves. You got to get out of selfie mode, and you got to flip that camera around and point it on him. Your life should be filled with him. Anything less than that is not enough. If he is not Lord of all, he's not Lord at all. If he does not fill up the picture, he's not in the picture. He's got to be the very thing that saturates your life. You should struggle trying to find anything in your life to squeeze into the picture. Martha was so distracted by her life to notice Jesus, too busy to stop and be in his presence, too consumed with her schedule, too consumed with her obligations, too consumed with what she had going on to go and be at the feet of Jesus. So lost in her schedule and serving and all the hectic duties in the kitchen to truly capture the words that was coming out of Jesus' mouth. That's why I said today that life has just become one big selfie to them. They can't see anything past their self. They can't focus on anything but them. See, the story of Mary makes no sense to me because I don't know how I'm supposed to pray when I'm so busy. I don't have time to pray. I don't have time to stop. I don't have time to serve. I don't have time to give. I've already exhausted all my finances. I can't give to the church. I don't have time to be at church. I don't have time to serve. I'm so busy, so consumed with self that I don't have time to go on outreach. I'm too busy doing all the things that I do. My life is so consumed that there's no way that I can stop and just settle down for just a second. See, those are the people that Martha makes a lot more sense to them. Martha makes so much more sense to them because they become so busy with life that Jesus doesn't even fit into the picture. These are the people that we call me monsters. They're monsters because they're ugly. They're selfish. They're cold. They're inconsiderate. They can't make time for the one who gave them a brand new day. They can't make time for the one that saved them, the one that cleansed them, the one that brought them up out of the miry clay, the one that drove them out of a life of addiction and drew them out of a life of abuse, and who put them and blessed them and gave his favor. Then they have no time for him. They struggle to make time for them. And so life is all about how can they be benefited and how can they advance and how can I be pleased and what I got to do about me, and I got to satisfy me, and I got to make sure that I get ahead, and I got to make sure that my family succeeds, and I got to make sure that we prosper. And it's always about me. Everything in their life is about them. They're so self-absorbed that it's all about me and what I feel. It's all about what I think. It's all about what I'm going through. I don't have time to focus on anybody else. I have no time to focus on anything else. My life is all about me. It's just one big selfie of me. Jesus said that if you're going to follow me, you have to deny yourself. Jesus, as he's picking his disciples, see, he ended up with 12, but those weren't the only 12 he asked. He asked other people to be his disciple, and they were too busy. Jesus said, leave everything you have and follow me. And they said, let me first. Let me first go say bye to my family. Let me first go bury my father. Let me first go handle something. See, that's this me first gospel. I'll follow you, Jesus, but let me first. You follow me, Jesus. You do what I want to do. I'll let you in my life. You can sit in the passenger seat because I'm going to keep doing what me wants to do. And Jesus said, look, the kingdom has no place for you. Jesus told them, look, you just go. Because anyone who puts their hand to the plow and looks back isn't even fit for the kingdom. You're not following Jesus when you're walking and look behind you because you can't let go. The reason why Mary was so captivated by Jesus is because when she's seen him, everything else lost its value. Everything else didn't seem as important anymore. It wasn't a struggle to pray. It wasn't a struggle to get along with him. Guys, I want to shift this church to a level where prayer is the most important thing that we do every day. Our time with him, getting along with him, is our priority. That we give God the absolute best of us every single day. I believe God deserves better than me dozing off and praying. I believe that God deserves better than me dozing off while I'm reading. If I can give 9 hours on my job and give my best to my job, God deserves better than me praying for 5 minutes before I go to sleep at night. He deserves better than that. Because I want to draw us up to another level to where we hunger for more than that. That doesn't become our little pacifier. That we say, oh, I put my time in today. Oh, I prayed. I spoke my blessings over the day. I thanked Jesus for the day. And I said, now I lay me down to sleep. I want us to hunger for more than that. I want our whole day to be off if we didn't have time to pray. I literally want us to feel like we have 2 left feet because we didn't pray. That we don't know how to function, we don't know how to walk. I want us to depend on his presence at that level, that your whole day is off if you did not have time to get in his word. But I'm going to tell you something. As long as we stay in the kitchen with Martha, none of this is going to make sense. None of this is going to make sense. We'll always struggle to pray. We'll always struggle to be faithful. We'll always struggle to get in his presence as long as we stay in the kitchen with Martha. The kitchen is hectic. It's chaotic. It's dysfunctional. It's disorderly. There's nothing going right. Martha's running around. She's got a towel wrapped around her. She's freaking out because nothing's working right and she didn't have enough sugar, so she had to run next door and see if the neighbor had some sugar she could borrow. And she's sending all the people to the store because she's so unprepared. And Jesus just showed up out of nowhere and she didn't have enough to feed everybody, so she's just frantically running around the kitchen, sweating, going crazy because she is so busy trying to serve Jesus that she has no time to be with him. And so I want to ask you today, are you Martha in the kitchen, so busy, so crazy, so consumed with you, that life has just become one big selfie to you? Or have you become like Mary, that you become so captivated by Jesus that you don't even know what's going on in that kitchen anymore? See, you can be distracted by Jesus and still have a life, but you can't be distracted by life and have Jesus. You can be distracted by Jesus and have a job and have money and do things, and you can still have Jesus in your life, but you cannot be distracted by life and have Jesus. I deal with people that I'm like, man, if you were ever going to follow Christ, your whole life would have to be turned upside down. I deal with people that they literally have to call in to work to come get a haircut. They work, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Their kids do travel sports on the weekends. Wife's going with one kid, husband's going with another kid. They've got 4 boats and 2 houses, and they've got timeshares, and their life is consumed with having to make so much amount of money just so they can stay afloat. And I'm thinking, if you were ever going to follow Jesus, you would have to literally hate your life. You would have to literally turn your whole life upside down just to follow him, because you could never follow him like that. See, I understand in the modern Christian world that's okay. We can come and say a little prayer, and we can say something, and then I can shake your hand, and then you can just go back and live your life, and we'll see you in glory. But see, that's not what I read in Scripture. I read in Scripture about how the disciples left everything to follow Jesus. They left their businesses. Peter, the Apostle Peter, was a commercial fisherman and he owned several boats. He owned a commercial fishing company and had several employees. And literally Jesus said, come and follow me. And the Bible says that Peter looked at all of his employees and he said, here, the company's yours. I got to go. These guys left careers to follow Jesus. These guys left family to follow Jesus. These people left everything that they loved, everything that ever mattered to them, everything they thought, man, this is what I want to be when I grow up. And they became that. And so here comes Jesus, comes along and just wrecks their world. They didn't go looking for Jesus. Jesus just came along. They just bumped into him. And when they had that encounter with Jesus, everything in their life that they thought mattered no longer mattered anymore. Everything that they thought they had to have, they didn't want anymore. Everything they thought they needed to be happy did not satisfy them anymore because they had an encounter with Jesus. And that's the kind of encounter, LiFeSource, that I want to drag us and push us. And I want to call a tow truck to tow us to it if we have to have that kind of encounter with Jesus, that nothing in our life looks the same. I want our whole lives to be so turned upside down. I don't want us to even recognize who we are because of the encounter that we've had with him. That we shut the kitchen down. That we steal away from all the business, all the dysfunction of life, all the chaos of life, and we get in his presence. Listen to me, guys. You cannot be need-driven and please God. Your life cannot be driven by what you need and it please him. His presence has to be the thing that drives you. His presence has to be the thing that we desire more than anything. I love the psalmist in Psalms 27, I believe it is. He said, this one thing that I ask, and this only will I seek, to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There is nothing else in this life that matters to me. There's nothing else in this life to go back to. There's so many people, I'm just going to quit. Where are you going back to? I thought you burned every bridge when you came to him. I thought you severed all of that. So many people come to God so shady. They're with him, but they're still texting somebody else. They're with him, but they're smiling as they're texting because they've not let go of stuff. But I believe if Jesus had told Martha, come here and sit down, I believe she probably would have. I think her mind would still be in the kitchen. I think she'd still be like, I think I heard the timer. No, it wasn't the timer? Okay. I think the bread's burnt. Just hold on just a second, Jesus. Hold on. You can be in his presence, but not be in his presence. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You can be in this room, but not really be here. We can get people in here, but that don't mean you're going to get the world out of them. You know, that was kind of the whole problem with Israel. They got Israel out of Egypt, but they couldn't get Egypt out of Israel. Israel was miles and miles and miles away from Egypt, but they're still talking about Egypt. It's like, dude, it's time to let that go. You can't move forward holding on to everything behind you. You can't be of his presence when you're still holding on to everything else. You can't truly be engaged in a conversation with Jesus when your mind is still on the kitchen. And what's crazy about it is, I'm not just saying here, but there's people all over the world that are filling churches today, and their minds aren't even in this room. They're here, they're physically here. I can check it off. Yeah, Sister so-and-so came to church today, but her mind wasn't even here. She was so worried thinking about what happened yesterday or what she's got to do tomorrow or how busy is she this week. She's physically here, but she's not here. And I want to get us to that place that we leave the kitchen behind. We leave the chaos of life, the dysfunction of life behind, all the things that we think we need, all the things we think are important, and make Jesus the thing that matters most to you. So we're going to close. I want to ask you to just be honest. Be truly honest and ask yourself a question. Where are you right now? Where are you? I don't want to ask where you are physically. I know you're physically here. I'd be stupid to ask that because I can see you physically here. I know you're physically here, but where really are you at? Can you tell me anything that was said today? Did you know people got healed today? Did you know that people were touched by God today? Are you going to go home like, I have no clue what Pastor talked about? I have no clue what was done at church today. Are you here? Like, I know you're physically, but are you here? Is this where your heart is? Is this where your mind is? Is this where your affections are? Is this where everything, is this every fiber of your being? Is it in this room today? Because if it's not, you get nothing out of this. This means nothing. Me talking about Mary makes no sense. But I believe that there are people in this room, and I truly believe, as I said this the other day, I said, man, I really feel like our church is growing in this. I believe that there are people in this room that it's clicking. It's actually starting to make sense. Because we're realizing, dude, I've been coming to church. I've been coming and being in His presence, but I've never really thought about, am I of His presence? Do I live in it every day? Do I stay there? And that is what God is looking for. He's looking for people who stay in His presence. That if every time we pull your name up out of the book that you're at His feet, that you're not going to find Mary any other way. She's at His feet. Would you stand with me this morning? I want to ask you today,